All right, good evening. We're going to call to order the Special Contact Committee meeting at 7 PM on Monday, 3/25. We'll take a roll call. Cheryl Ramos,
Here.
Tom Simmelink,
Here?
and alternate Mitch Pace,
Here.
and myself, Mike Walker. I'm here. Any guests here for this meeting? Nope. All right. Purpose tonight, we got a couple of things on the agenda, should be pretty quick. First one will be a liquor license renewal for Ween Hotels LLC doing business as a Schönbrunn Inn and Pub. I spoke to the police chief. She's had no complaints and no objections. Any conversation on that one?
No.
Any objections to that one? All right, well, we'll take a vote on that one to let that one just go. Cheryl?
Yes.
Okay, Tom?
Yes.
And I vote yes also. Mitch, you want to vote? No? All right, so that one we'll just let go.
We'll
Do
do
we
a
need to-
voice vote tonight.
Yeah, we'll put that on the agenda tonight. All right, so we'll put that on the agenda for tonight.
Yeah.
In other words, we don't
Mr.
need
Chairman,
a
point of
hearing for
order,
that one.
that's just a floor vote.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's not on the agenda, you just, whenever you give your committee report,
We'll get it.
you ask for
Yep.
a floor vote from
Okay.
council members.
All right, and then the second one we have is a liquor license request from Saria Petroleum LLC, which would be the former fuel depot. Is there any conversation, comments on that one?
Yeah, that's the guy we were suing right now, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I think we wait till that's done.
So, go ahead, Sharon.
Did they have a liquor license before? That's kind of in a residential neighborhood.
I believe they did have, they sold alcohol in that location down there.
Does
they've been
anybody
closed for
know
so
for
many
sure?
years.
Yeah, it's been closed, so this would be, this is a new one from way it was.
I don't think we should approve it.
I just have a,
Let him go through the court, and whatever happens there, then he can apply again.
I'm sorry, I was just gonna make a comment that this is basically to say if you want a hearing or not.
Right.
It's not, you know, we can't
So-
decide if they get it or they don't get it, you know.
We would request a hearing on this, I would think.
So that would be my vote, would be to request a hearing on this one.
It makes sense to me, since we're in the middle of a lawsuit.
All right, so we'll vote on the floor tonight to put this one on for a hearing. Cheryl?
Yeah.
All right,
Yes.
and I vote yes also, so we'll put that on the agenda this evening then. Any other things to come to this committee? Yes, ma'am.
Just to be clear, when we ask on the floor vote,
Mm-hmm.
that we don't want a hearing for the Schönbrunn Inn,
No.
but we do want a hearing on, so the question will have to be worded different,
Yes.
just to clarify.
Yep. Anything from anybody else? Administration? Other council members? All right. Public? All right, well, I'll make a motion to close this meeting at 7:04.
Finance meeting, but we've since had.
Moved right along. Nice
Report on
job.
that. Do I still need to report on that?
It's now 7:15. I'm calling the Public Works and Economic meeting to order. Members are Mr. Rippeth, Mrs. Ramos, and myself. My alternates, Mr. Simlak? Simlick, I'm sorry.
Similac.
I get my name mispronounced all the time. I need to get this down.
You just call me Tom if you want.
Simlick. We have one item to discuss tonight, and that's Resolution 6. And this is a final resolution. This is, I'm sure you guys got all the paperwork. This is something council approved in 2021. It's the connector trail from the Kent State to Beaver Avenue, going down East High Avenue. With all the projects, I'm not gonna speak, I'll let the service director speak on it, but I'm gonna, basically, we're getting an over $2 million project, and it's gonna be about $20,000 of the city's covered. Everything else is covered out of that. And then, service director also let me know that what 23 or whatever it is, I'll let him speak on that exact numbers, is basically gonna come out of probably, something out of master capital. So it's already been accounted for. This isn't a new cost or anything that we haven't accounted for in the city. I'll let the service director speak on it now. He can.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Back when this project had started, we had went out after some grants, and for the at-large, and I don't know, maybe, I don't even think that Mr. Rippeth was here at that time.
I was not.
But the connector trail is, it's gonna connect KSU to downtown. It'll start at Founders Hall Drive, the new drive that goes into Kent State. It'll mimic the lanes that are out there now. So on the north side, you'll be heading east, and on the west side, or on the, on the north side, you'll be heading west, coming in town, just like it is already has striped there now. It'll involve new curbs for the entirety of the project, and new drive approaches, new storm sewers, new piping to get to the get to the storm sewers, because they all got to be brought up to road grade. They can't be none of that, you know, how you see some of that up and down stuff. They'll all be level with the road. With ODOT's, I guess, help, they had High Street on the paving for next year. After speaking with them and telling them what project we had, with Tom Corey's help and Dan Lorenzo's help, they had agreed to pave it this year. So from 13th in, it'll get paved to Beaver Avenue. We'd always have that price to pay for that. And the project total is almost $3.1 million for the whole thing being paved and the striping. With that, with the budget that was passed here, I guess last week or a couple weeks ago, $305,000 would come out of 205, 4,400, 4,300, which that is a state highway paving fund, which, as you know, can only be used for state routes. $31,000 that'll be out of 713, 3903, 5, 5,400, which that is storm sewer. And that was also in with the line item there that had Mass Capital had some Glen Drive, another project, and then miscellaneous. This was the miscellaneous piece of that, the 31,000. And I believe what the chairman's speaking of, as far as I have the overall budget, like as far as mine, so it'll come out of my engineering budget, 3401, in the amount of $26,039.11. So again, like, I won't say that we typically try to go after everything we can, but I think on this one you can clearly see that when you get over $2.5 million for a project and you end up with less than $30,000 as far as actually master capital money, I think we did okay. So, anything else, Mr. Chairman?
No, thank you, sir. I think you cleared it up for me here. Anybody on the committee have a comment on this?
I guess, no, go ahead, Cheryl, you're first. You
No,
proceed.
go ahead.
No, I'm new to this whole, because it's 2 years old or something, 3 years old. So what they're gonna do is they would run stripes down the side,
What you got is
Right.
just the bike lanes that you see, like you
Yeah.
see now,
right?
from 21st Drive on up. But they'll do the same thing, just coming through town. And then when you get to Beaver Avenue, it goes to the sidewalk on the north side.
I've had a couple of residents along there that are really objecting to this, based on truck traffic on the east side. And, they said, not too long ago, one of the semis knocked a tree down in front of, Craig Barnett's house. Anyway, they said they don't think it's, and the width of that road varies. It's not consistent all the way down. They think there's a lot of objections to this for safety reasons. Have you heard any of that?
I've heard a couple, and
Yes.
I've got probably, I'd have to look back at the material, a dozen or so, or 2 dozens, saying all for it, so, just like anything.
Well, I think bike paths are great.
Yeah.
If it's too narrow for this kind of activity, and it endangers, it's dangerous, I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And that's what these people are saying.
And
I don't
think
know what
on-
Cheryl
I think on that, with that, you gotta lean on ODOT, they've been in the business a lot longer than I have,
Sure.
and they're the ones that engineer it and move forward with it, cause it's on that state route, so. And I believe the, speeds, which are, 35 through there, but again, I gotta lean on ODOT and that type of situation there.
Right.
Okay, Mrs. Ramos?
So, one of the concerns too, I was, the last meeting they had, the residents that were there were not in favor of this. So, I wanted to ask, you will be getting rid of, the parking lane on the south side of East High, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so the parking lane disappeared, and when it gets to downtown, I couldn't tell by the maps, but you said it's gonna go to the sidewalk on one side, but they had it marked two sides? When it gets down here to Broadway, from Guibes to Broadway,
You
the
probably
center
have,
of
you probably
downtown.
have sharrows because it's against city ordinance to ride on the sidewalks in downtown.
So, how would they do that with all the parking downtown? It wasn't clear on that map.
I believe, I'd look back and I'm sure there's just sharrows right behind the parking. There's a share lane called sharrows where you share the road.
Yeah, I know, they're gonna mark up
Yeah.
Union with
You'd
that.
have parking up against the curb and then the Sharrow lane, and then the traffic lane.
So I've heard a lot about how terrible parking is downtown. So now you're gonna add parking, and the people that are in parking have to watch out for not only cars, but bikes coming behind them, correct?
Sure.
Shouldn't they anyway?
Yeah. I guess to that question, they can do it today, just like that. They have to do that today, because you're not allowed to ride on the sidewalks. So they can do that
Right.
today.
Yeah,
They can do it tomorrow.
correct.
If you designate something, now I think you heighten the awareness for that individual, say, hey.
And the traffic.
You have to heighten that, I think, for that individual. But again,
Okay.
they can do that tonight.
Now, my other question is, when they said in his plans that they're gonna use the existing right-of-way, and we've talked about this before, but just to be clear, the right-of-way goes to the home side of the sidewalk,
Backside of the sidewalk.
the home side of it.
But we won't be in anything, again, farther than the drive approaches. So the drive approach is just up to the sidewalk, and that all new curbs, so we won't be anywhere near any right-of-way. We won't even need a work right-of-way permit, because we won't have to disturb anything on the homeowner's side at all.
Okay, I did read that.
Yeah.
Okay, now, the cost here in this, resolution ordinance says that the city, agrees to assume 100% of $178.89. I'm thinking that was our budget shortfall, or about that, wasn't it? 300 to 400,000?
I'm not sure. Well, I guess to that question, you could not use state highway money for the budget.
Fund.
For the general fund was what was short, so I guess if you wanna compare apples, let's
Okay.
go with, Master Capital takes out the $26,039.11. The 361 or the 305 could not be used to balance the budget. That has to go for state highway projects and state highway projects only.
Okay. So, out of the city's budget, we are going to be paying that. We're not getting any federal.
We're gonna pay,
Money.
okay, out of the, state highway money, 305,000 can only be used for state highway
Right.
projects. It could not be used to balance the budget.
And that's tax money that we get into our budget?
You'd have to ask, there you go, there's the best
Yes.
question.
Part of the gasoline, part
Gasoline
of
tax.
a vehicle license.
Right.
Any other questions from council? I've got a couple minutes here if there's any public that would like to comment on this.
Yes, I would.
You got to go to the podium
Go
and
to the
speak your
podium,
name.
Alan. State your name and address.
My name is this on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My name's Orlando Zimmerman. I live at 918 East High Avenue in New Philadelphia. I'm opposed to having a bike lane put on the south side and the parking removed on the south side of East High Avenue. The reason I'm opposed to that is it's a couple reasons, and I've had several neighbors in my area in the 900 block oppose it as well. And we feel that that's going to deprive both sides of this street of a benefit that we pay our taxes to have, and that's being able to park there. That parking on the right hand, on that south side of the street is used by both the north side East High residents and the south side East High residents. And anytime we have a function, which happens every holiday for my family, I need parking on that street. I don't have enough parking in my yard, on my sidewalk, or anywhere else. I don't want them parking in my yard and so forth. And so then I look at the other side of it, and I think everybody that on that street that ever had a yard sale is not going to be allowed to have a yard sale now. There's no parking, no place for these cars. The traffic on that street in the 30 years I've lived there has gotten so bad that I wouldn't allow my child, you could paint the most beautiful bike lane. I wouldn't let a 10-year-old or 12-year-old child ride on that bike lane. That street is dangerous. I think there needs to be another alternative route from that Beaver Avenue where you're coming off of that extra wide out there on East High out past the airport and up to Kent State. But shoot those folks back in around Beaver Avenue, clear back on the towpath or whatever going back that way to eliminate any kind of problems. But I'm totally against, and several of my neighbors are too. I didn't take a petition. I probably should have. And, but I'm against that because it's going to deprive my family and other families down that street of that parking privilege that we paid for over the years, just for the convenience of a few people that ride up and down the street on a bicycle. And over the last 30 years, I've watched bicyclists coming up and down that street, and they've managed to get back and forth, just like always. So that's my statement on this project. And by the way, I'm all for new curbs, storm sewers, all the other things you're talking about in this proposal. But paint and those lines and the deprivation of parking on East High Avenue, I am not for. And I have several other individuals in that neighborhood that are not for it either. When they look at it to the regard of how it impacts not just one side of the street, but both sides of the street because everybody uses that street to park, whether it's the north side or the south side.
Okay, thank you, sir. If anybody else has any comments on this, they'll be able to do that when we have a public comment, since we're getting too close to the council meeting now. But is there any action to be taken on Resolution 6, proposed Resolution 6, 2024?
I move that we present it to the council and let them decide.
And I'll second that, and we'll take a vote. Mr. Ribbeth?
Yes.
I'll vote yes also. Mrs. Ramos?
No,
Okay. Voted 2-1. We'll bring it to add it to tonight's agenda for first reading. And tonight. Is there anything else to come before committee? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to
I
adjourn
would move to adjourn.
at 7:29.
We ready? This meeting of New Philadelphia City Council will now come to order. Would you please rise and remain standing for the invocation and pledge of allegiance? Mr. Walker.
Bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, we ask your blessing on the people who have been called to lead this community in which we live, work, and play. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a council, and promote the bonds of our community. Fill us with your grace as we make decisions that might affect the residents, staff, and our emergency forces of our city. Continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory of you, and for the service of humanity. In this holy week, we look forward to Sunday where we can celebrate our risen Savior. We pray this in your holy name. Amen.
amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, and welcome everybody to our March 25th, 24 council meeting. We'll start off with roll call.
Mr. Kreinbell.
Here.
Mr. Lanzer.
Here.
Mr. Pace.
Present.
Mrs. Ramos.
Here,
Mr. Rippeth.
Present.
Mr. Simmeling.
Here.
Mr. Walker.
Here.
All right, thank you. Let it be known that all Director Fate is excused from our meeting this evening. Everybody's had a chance to look at the agenda for tonight. Are there any additions to the agenda? Yes, Mr. Popham.
I would like to ask for executive session for personnel reasons at the end of the meeting.
All right, do I have a motion for that? Mr.
Make a
Pace?
motion.
Need a second?
Yes.
Mr. Ribbeth? In discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mr. Rippeth.
Yes.
Mr. Kreinbell.
Yes.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
yes.
Mr. Simmeling.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
All right, then we will have a executive meeting at the end of our legislative meeting tonight. Any other additions to the agenda?
Yes,
Mr.
Mr. President,
Lanza.
I ask that we add proposed Resolution 6, 2024 to tonight's agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Rippeth. Discussion by administration, council, roll call.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mr. Rippeth.
Yes.
Mr. Kreinbell.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes,
Mr. Simmeling.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Any other additions to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. President.
Mr. Walker?
I'd like to add on a couple of floor votes. The first one would be
Well, we
for,
can just do those when you give
during
your
the council
report.
committee? Okay.
Give your report, okay. All right. If nothing else, then entertain a motion to approve the agenda for tonight. Mr. Sinley,
So moved.
Mr. Cranville, second. Thank you. Discussion by administration, council, roll call.
Mr. Simmeling.
Yes.
Mr. Kreinbell.
Yes.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
All right, our agenda has been approved. Everybody's had a chance to review the minutes from our last
2 meetings.
two meetings. We had 3:18 and
11.
3:11. So do we need to do two or?
Just one. We could just do one vote.
I'd entertain a motion to approve if there's no corrections, then to do a 3:11 and 3:18.
So moved on both minutes.
Do I-
I'll second.
Mr. Walker, thank you for a second. In discussion by administration, council, roll call.
Mr. Rippeth.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Mr. Kreinbell.
Yes.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Simmeling.
I'll abstain. I wasn't here for this.
All right, correspondence, Ms. Courtright,
To council and administration from Mayor Day dated March 15th, 2024. This is a forwarded email titled Draft Chapters, which states the following. Please review this draft and bring comments or questions to the March 19th at 2 p.m. meeting with Wendy Mueller with Compass Point Planning. To Councilman Walker from President Kemp, this is dated March 18th, 2024. This is an email with a liquor license request from Ween Hotels. President Kemp asked Mr. Walker to take this request into his committee. To council and administration from Law Director Fate, this is dated March 21st, 2024. This is an email stating he will be out of office the week of March 25th through March 29th and on Thursday, April 4th. To Councilman Lonzer from President Kemp, dated March 22nd, 2024. This is a forwarded email titled, Please Assign to the Public Works Committee. It's in regards to an ODOT project. And to Council and Administration from Mayor Day, dated March 25th, 2024, the Mayor's Report. And that concludes correspondence for this evening, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Ms. Cartwright. We'll move into our administrative reports. First up, Mayor Day.
Thank you, Mr. President.
It's good to have you back after that.
It's good to be back. Council members, fellow administrators, and guests, a couple things I want to mention from the mayor's report that I sent to you earlier today. By the way, if you'd like to have a PDF of this drawing, just let me know. The decision by the Muskingum Watershed Conservancy District to consolidate its operations at a new location on Tech Park Drive Northeast is in sync with the Tech Park's founder's original intent. Quoting from the minutes of the Tuscarawas Research and Technology Park kickoff meeting, which was held on February 3rd, 2005, quote, "We need to translate the special qualities to the physical environment, create a sense of place. We must encourage and enhance interdisciplinary work and interaction, foster casual and formal connections. When people visit our park, they should think, I want to be part of this." By viewing the proposed campus design and its amenities, which I have shown here, you can see that MWCD's plans fits many of the aspects of the founder's vision. Its proximity to Buckeye Career Center and the Kent State Tuscarawas campus should create exciting opportunities for students seeking careers related to MWCD's mission of land management and environmental preservation. The walking trails included in the campus design will tie into the trails on the KSU campus and into the connector trail that will be built this year to downtown New Philadelphia. They fit into the city's plan to use trails to encourage health, wellness, family activities, and an appreciation of New Philadelphia's rural setting. Also, I'd like to congratulate Dr. Nick Weininger. Business growth is always encouraged here in town, and I was pleased to read the recent announcement that Dr. Weininger will be moving his dental practice this fall into a new building on Commonplace Commons Southwest, just behind BW3's on West High Avenue. And I want to thank him for choosing to keep his growing practice in New Philadelphia. I look forward to attending the ribbon cutting ceremony at the new location. That concludes happy Easter, everyone. By the way, my favorite Easter Bible passage is John 3:16. It puts the reason we celebrate Easter into one sentence. And city offices, by the way, will be closed on Good Friday. That concludes my report. Any questions?
Any questions for the mayor? All right, hearing none. Thank you, Mayor Day. Move on to Service Director, Mr. McAbeer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. I want to go over a few things quickly because I'd like to yield the remainder of my time to Code Administrator Josh Mathias. He wants to go over us rolling out the vacant property registry, so he's going to get a chance to talk on that. That was legislation that was passed late in '23, I believe the office-wise, and mainly through Josh. We're going to be ready to roll that out, and I'll let him talk to that. But a few things I'd like to talk about quickly is we're going to start flushing this Sunday the 7th, and we'll work it out through for a week. So if you get the calls, the first, when we start out, we do the whole south side. So that is from Mill Avenue all the way down to our dog park area, south side phase 2. So you usually get dirty water calls. If you happen to get any of those, run cold water, do not run hot. Run cold, let it go, it'll clear up. It's just from that, the agitation through the system. Again, so just have them run the cold water, and again, that'll last a week. We will be done the following Sunday morning on the 14th. Again, it lasts all week, so we'll still be out there Friday night and Saturday night flushing hydrant. So just want to make everybody aware of that. Today, we had a Board of Control meeting. If you remember the last meeting I had, talked about CDBG bid opening. We awarded that today to Shelley Company for an amount of $125,980.40. If we all remember, we're gonna go over on College Avenue and sidewalks and curbs, and then come up on 11th Street and continue that. And then again, 2 more years, like I've said before many times, I'm gonna try to do that area from College all the way to East High. It's all LMI eligible. I'd like to have that whole area, sidewalks and curbs. It all falls in that LMI area, and I'm gonna continue to stay there, as long as I can, as long as I'm here. Also, at the last meeting, we had some talks about the, wanted some updates on the bleachers. So, I'd met with, Mr. Haney, and then the foreman, and a couple guys from Dover Tank and Plate. The next day after that, I wanted to get an update, if they had knew more than what I did, and they did have a plan moving forward. And the general contractor for the job is Dover Tank and Plate. They're subcontracting out with Benchmark Construction. They hope to have the drawings and stuff sent over by and approved by May 6th to ACOBA. After that, they want some fabrication drawings over to them the following week through Dover Tank and Plate. From then, you gotta wait for about just over 5 weeks for the delivery of the structural steel coming June 10th. From June 10th, then that's really when the work starts to be going. Right now, you see some pre-work and that type of thing going on there. But again, with the completion of all the groundwork and the stands all in, they have a completion date of August 5th of 2024, right before that first game. So they're pushing it right to the limit, so let's hope for good weather for everybody involved. I think one thing to take away from it is, I think a lot of time during the day, during construction hours, that road, that goes around through there, more than likely be off, probably, just to say safe, 95% of the time. When they get to a safe area that they can actually do something. But I would say, if you're trying to get into the maintenance garage or anything, use the 2nd Street side. If you need, after just going to the stadium, you can always come in that way. You're only gonna get to so far though. But I would say, try to avoid that area. Probably even starting now, because they've already started taking it off whenever they've taken the steel off. I think the real, I wanna say, issue out there is they almost have to, they're gonna take one piece out yet, which that's what they're trying to get to right now. And then take it over there and mimic it over at the Dover Tank and Plate, because they're all the same, right? And the big hope is that all those piers are solid and good. To me, they look good. None of them look even a little bit jogged. So let's just knock on wood on that. But the piers all look good, and that's what everybody's hoping for. If they can stay on them piers, get the bolts out, put bolts back in. Again, they've got to get one of those out of there, and they don't physically take it over and make sure they're making the right thing, because every one of those are exactly the same going through there. So again, August 5th, right before that first game. Any questions?
Yes, Ron.
Yes, sir.
How is this gonna affect First Town Days? Is that gonna be a problem?
What they've said about First Town Days, they'll make it work, whatever they gotta do to cut out and do whatever.
Cause that road gets used a lot during
Yeah,
First Town.
yeah. Yeah, as a matter of fact, they're allowing for the run for home too, because naturally it just went through there. And I think all we're gonna do on that is have them come in and come right back out around it through the stadium. So that's an easy fix, but, I'll get closer with that, to that date. But originally, when we talked, Butch and them said, we'll work with you to make it work. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Mr. Magritte, just to follow up on the crosswalk beacons on North Broadway and Tuscarora, and Second and Tuscarora, that's gonna be done after First Town Days, I think? I can't remember.
Because you gotta remember, their fiscal year, ODOT, starts 7/1. Yeah, that's exactly really why the connector trail is 7/1. gets bid out 5/9, but they can't start work till 7/1.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions, Mr. McAbeer?
Oh, give my time to Josh.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everybody. As Service Director said, I'm going to touch on some vacant property registry that was passed here last December. Kind of a refresher for some of you guys, and get out to the public for the first time that this thing is now rolled out. As of today, we are requiring all vacant properties, property owners to annually register vacant buildings within the city of New Philadelphia. The registry will apply to any type of vacant building, whether that's residential, commercial, or industrial. Buildings with multiple units are required to register only if more than half of the available units or more than half of the available space is empty. So if you've got an apartment complex with 10 apartments and 6 are full, they're exempt from it. A fee will be charged and is due at the time of registration, and the fee varies according to the type of building and the length of the time it's been vacant. Another thing to touch on, there are inspections required with this registry, exterior only, and that's to ensure that adequate property maintenance is being kept up. That's part of the whole reason for this registry. I'll cover a few exemptions. I'm not going to touch too deep into this stuff, but some exemptions would be buildings that are under active construction or renovation. They don't need to register. Any building that suffered fire damage or severe weather condition damage, as long as active, ongoing efforts are to restore that building, rehabilitate it, they don't need to register with the city. And also, an obvious one would be buildings for sale and listed with but they have to be listed with a licensed state of Ohio realtor. They'll be exempt for a period of time, residential for 6 months, industrial, commercial for a year. The purpose of this is it's a tool. We're using this tool to identify and keep track of vacant buildings and structures within the city, which will help preserve our residential and commercial districts. Hopefully help keep them from being blighted. The registry's information will be shared with other city departments such as the police and fire department for obvious reasons. Also, I was in touch with the water billing department who reached out to me and said that it'll be very helpful for them on some of the things they do. And the end goal, obviously, is to get these places occupied. We've got a lot of people I keep hearing want to move into this town, and we've got dozens of houses sitting empty. So hopefully this is a nudge to get those property owners to do something with it. Same with commercial spots. We want to get those with active businesses in there. And that's all I got for you guys.
How are we getting the word out, Josh? I know it's on the website, what
As
other
of today-
means?
As of today, the registration form is on the city's website. The mayor's assistant, Jamie Bailey, also put it on the city's Facebook page with a link to get to that form. I got some forms I can pass out to our friends in the media here. Hopefully that'll help spread the word. And after a couple weeks, I'm pretty well aware of several vacant properties that are in town. If they don't register, we'll just start hunting them down. We're going to be sending letters out to property owners that have lots of properties in the town that we're already aware of, just a general informational letter. Hey, this is active. If you have anything vacant, it needs to be registered within 90 days. This first initial year is going to be, we're not going to stick to the timelines as much as after it's all rolled out and done, but each year they have to register. It'll be January 1st. They'll have to register by March, or there's a late fee. It's all built into that ordinance. And those fees, there's a schedule attached to the actual registration form, so they'll know exactly what they got to pay. And if they keep it vacant, it keeps doubling every year up to 5 years. So.
Any questions for Josh? Mr. Alonso?
More of just a comment, Josh. I appreciate the quickness of getting this thing rolled out. I worked on it on my committee, and you've done a really good, I haven't got a chance to tell you that this is gonna be great for the city. I think it's gonna be able to clean up some of those.
It's all a step in the right direction.
Yes, absolutely.
Appreciate you saying it was quick, because it felt like it was taking too long for me to get rolled out. So.
Well, I think it was in my committee longer than it was you to get it rolled out.
Hey, Josh, would you like to, make council aware of where you're gonna start that at?
Originally, I was gonna do a phase plan approach, after talking with the city of North Canton. The way that they rolled theirs out, they got overwhelmed. But they were talking more of their rental registry, and this is a vacant property registry, so we decided today that we're just gonna roll it out citywide. I don't think there's more than a few dozens of vacant properties there, so if we get a little overwhelmed at first, service director's office can handle it, and we'll get everything situated, but.
All right, thanks, Josh.
Drop the mic then. He just-
All right, thanks, Josh.
Thank you, John.
All right.
Mr. President, I had one
Yes,
more
yes,
question for the
Mr.
service director. You may or may not have. Is there a schedule that we can see of how you're gonna move through on the flushings, just so that we can?
Yeah, I can do that for you, yeah.
Yeah, just so we
That's why I
kind of
just
know
wanna
what
make sure
parts of the
that-
town are gonna
Yep,
get
I will make, I will
hit at what
get that
days.
to everybody.
If you could do
Yep.
that, that would be great.
I
Thank
will
you.
do that, yep.
Will it be posted on the website?
Yeah, I can do that. I'm sure
Yeah.
I can do that too.
I think that would be helpful.
Sure.
Yeah, good idea. All right, moving on. Safety Director, Mr. Popham.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening.
All right. Auditor, Mrs. Gundy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. I just want everyone to be aware I will not be here on April 8th. That meeting, I'll be out of town.
All right. Thank you for letting us know. Any questions for Beth? All right, move on. Treasurer, Mr. Gerber.
No report, sir.
All right. And Law Director is excused this evening. We'll move into our council commission reports. First up, Planning Commission, Joel Day.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to talk about the meeting we had last week, and the revisions to the city's regulations on signs. That was the topic of, last week's Planning Commission workshop with Wendy Moeller of Compass Point Planning. If you weren't able to attend, my mayor's report, I put a link to the YouTube video, and for the folks at home, that'll also be posted on the Facebook page when my report is put up there. But at the conclusion of the workshop, Ms. Moeller said she'll now prepare the first draft of the new zoning code to present to the Planning Commission during its April 9th meeting. So put that on your calendar if you would, and if you can make it. 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock on April 9th. In the meantime, she also plans to hold a virtual meeting with members of the city's Downtown Design Standards Board of Review to go over the zoning revisions that affect the downtown area. So we're moving right along. We're getting close to being able to have a completely new zoning code, which I know Josh is really chomping at the bit to get his hands on, is it'll be very helpful in addressing some problems we have now and also for future planning in the city. And it'll remove a lot of the gray areas that we currently have in our zoning code. So
All right.
that's my report.
Any questions for Mr. Mayor Day? Next, we'll move on. Board of Zoning Appeals, Mr. McAbeer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Board of Zoning and Appeals will meet April 9th at 5 PM here in council chambers, and right now there's 2 variance requests to be heard. That's the end of my report.
All right. Move on to the Airport Commission, Mr. Lonzer.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening.
All right, move on to Park Board, Mr. Pace.
Thank you, Mr. President. No official report tonight, but I do want to give an update. Excuse me, on the waterworks. TJ Gears with the softball, youth girls softball. They raised $17,000 at their Night at the Races event. And they're taking that money and going to be rebuilding or building new dugouts down on Field 8. Field 8 is the softball field right on South Broadway. And they're gonna match Field 5, but won't be quite as big. And with that, the girls softball and boys baseball will be starting next week. So you'll see a lot of kids down at the waterworks, and it's really,
Spring is here.
spring is here,
Spring is
yes. And then with that, we're 1 month away from the 2nd annual New Philly Trout Derby. Take a look on Facebook. It's gonna be another great event, so that's all I got.
The Park Foundation too, about the pancake breakfast.
Yes, and the Park Foundation had a very successful pancake breakfast 2 Saturdays ago. I think they raised about $3,000,
Yeah, we served over 500.
served over 500 pancake eaters.
It's a great morning.
So it was a good morning, yep.
Yes.
I'll vouch they were good, you can put that on record.
We're happy
The
to
mayor,
share
the mayor
that.
did a great job cooking that.
We need everybody we had there, everybody was working, that's for sure.
They were too.
All right, Health Board, Mr. Simmerling.
Just I'll reiterate, the mayor announced at our special meeting that last Monday, I guess, the health department got its accreditation, which is an important hurdle for them to, and certainly they're being congratulated for it. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I know Vicki has done a great job, and her and her staff. And the last few years, they've hustled a lot to get to the certification to complete it. All right, we went to our council committee reports. Finance, Mr. Rippeth.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report tonight.
I'd like to say thank you to you and your committee for getting the budget done. I know we had a meeting last Monday, got it passed,
help.
but yeah, so we appreciate all your work and your committee's work and to get that done. We had March 31st as our deadline. Public Works and Economic Development, Mr. Lonzer.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Public Works and Economic Development Committee met this evening at 7:15. We had one item to discuss, it was Resolution 6. We voted it 2-1 to bring it to council for a first reading tonight. And after that, we adjourned at 7:29.
Right, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Lonzer? Safety, Health, and Service, Mr. Simmelink.
No report.
All right. Zoning and annexation, Mrs. Ramos.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report.
All right. Salary, Mr. Cranbill.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this
All
evening.
right. Parks and Cemetery, Mr. Pace.
Thank you, Mr. President, no report.
All right. Contact and Special, Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Special Contact Committee met this evening at 7 PM. We had 2 items on the agenda. First up was a liquor license renewal for Ween Hotels LLC doing business as the Schönbrunn Inn and Pub. We voted to move that to the floor for a floor vote for no hearing. So do we want to take that vote now?
Yes.
I'll make that motion then.
All right. Mr. Simmelink, second. Thank you. In discussion, we'll do a floor vote. So
Just to
Point of-
clarify, a yes vote means no hearing.
No hearing.
Okay.
Roll
Mr.
call, yes.
Mr. Kreinbell,
Yes.
Mr. Lonzer,
Yes.
Mr. Pace,
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos,
Yes.
Mr. Rippeth,
Yes.
Mr. Simmelink,
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
All right, we voted that we do not
Do
need a
not.
hearing.
Correct. And the second item on the agenda was the liquor license request for Saria Petroleum LLC, which is the former fuel depot. As a committee, we agreed to bring this to a floor vote. We would like this to go to a hearing. So a yes vote would be yes to go to a hearing, and I make that motion.
And I'll second.
All right, thank you. In discussion by administration, council, voice vote.
Mr. Kreinbell,
Yes.
Mr. Lonzer.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos,
Yes.
Mr. Rippeth,
Yes.
Mr. Simmelink,
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Okay, that's when we will send in that we want
That's
a
correct.
hearing.
Yes,
for this
we want a
one.
hearing.
So,
And that was all we had for the committee, and we closed at 7:04.
all right. All right, visitors' comments. The floor is now open for visitor comments. Anyone wishing to address council should rise, state your name and address, and direct all comments to the chair. You will have 5 minutes. If you hear me tap on my gavel, your 5 minutes is up, just so you know. We don't really have a timer, but we try to limit everybody to 5 minutes. So anyone wishing to address council? Yes, ma'am, if you come to the podium, state your name and address.
I am Allison Summers. I live at 5555 State Route 212, Mineral City. I know I don't live in the city here, but I do work in the city at Ohio Guidestone, and I have a business in the city already down at the mall. It's a baseball softball facility inside the mall. But anyway, I'm here today to talk about proposing the idea of, I don't know if it's a good idea with everything we've already talked about today, but bringing e-scooters into the city. I've emailed several people throughout the course of actually 2 years regarding this, but it's just been kind of pushed back and forth, who I need to talk to, yes, no, yes, no. So everybody said I had to come to council meeting. I tried to avoid this public speaking event, but here I am, so. Anyway, I have a fleet of 4 e-scooters. It's like the electric scooters that you see in the big cities. But they are not the ones that you just jump and dump where you ride on, get off, lay them wherever you want to go in. These ones are round trip scooters, so the patron has to get on, they're all app-based, scan their card, whatnot, take the trip, return them to their starting place. That avoids the mess of them being, left out and about and just not looking nice. I did have them last summer placed out in several other areas in the community. They did fairly well with no rebuttal or really any issues. I thought with a lot of the trails and stuff that are up and coming, it would be kind of a nice thing in this city for people to get out and about and do some recreational things, since there is not a whole lot to do in this town, outside stuff. The scooters can be geofenced, so if there's any areas in the city where you guys do not really want them to be, such as like Tuscarora Park, I know, you can't ride skateboards, roller skates, stuff like that through the park, bicycles, anything like that. You can geofence around the area so that the scooter slows down and shuts down before it gets, entered into any area like that. Any questions for me?
Do you have a lot of information? If you can get that to me, I can give you my business card, has my email address.
Okay.
I'll take a look at it, and if I can assign it to a committee, then we can take a look at that.
Okay, sounds good. Yes, I was thinking about, I have several area businesses that, are willing to let me put them out and about in front of their business. What I would do, say a restaurant allowed it, I could give them a promo code, spend so much money at this business, you can get a promo code for a discount off of the scooter. So it also gets people in and out, the businesses, as well as letting people ride the scooters. Scooters do have the same laws as bicycles. For anybody that had any questions regarding that, they don't fall under the same scooter laws as like mopeds. It'd be similar to bicycles, e-bicycles, the e-scooters that lots of people have nowadays. So, fairly safe.
Allison, I have a question.
Yes.
How far will these run from where they are placed?
They can go about 20 to 30 miles.
Oh.
So actually, the city of Dover just posted, a business in the city of Dover just posted today that they have the scooters now in the city of Dover. So regardless, their scooters could come this way as well. So just kind of wanted to get mine out in the area here for the community.
If you want to come forward, I'll give you my business card. Yes, and Mrs. Later she gets back, and sure we can. Thank you.
Any other questions, anybody?
Yeah, I
Okay.
did. Okay, you said these would have to be based somewhere, like a based home, but you said you've talked to a couple businesses, so they'd be based in many different places?
Yeah, so what I did
Several?
last year, I did have them in Bolivar, I had them at Mazzarelli Baseball Complex, I also had them at Donnie's on the Lake, I had them at a winery in Bolivar, and I would just kind of post on my Facebook, hey, scooters will be here, kind of like a food truck does, like, the scooters will be here today, grab a meal, promo code, 10% off your ride. So yeah, people would have to follow my scooter page to kind of see where they were going to be, unless I had somebody that really wanted to permanently keep them at their space.
And another question, the funds raised from this, who gets the money?
The funds go to my business, I have an LLC for them, and then the app company does all of the sales remitting.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. We'll take a look at it.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, council comments, any council comments tonight? Hearing none, we'll move into our legislative agenda. Ms. Cordwright.
Ordinance number
2024, an ordinance by the Council of the City of New Philadelphia, Ohio, to amend codified ordinance 145.02 to update the ordinance with the current city department names and declaring an emergency, third reading.
Is there any action be taken by council this evening?
Yes, Mr. President. I
Yes.
move that we pass ordinance 7/2024 this evening.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Rippon, thank you. In discussion by administration, community, council, roll call.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Mr. Rippon.
Yes.
Mr. Kreinbell.
Yes.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Simmelink.
Yes.
All right, ordinance 7/2024 has passed.
Ordinance number 8, 2024, an ordinance by the Council of the City of New Philadelphia, Ohio, to amend the city's codified ordinances for the purpose of changing the title of building inspector to code administrator and updating the duties of the same and declaring an emergency, third reading.
Is there any action be taken by council on this ordinance tonight?
Yes, Mr. President.
Yes,
I
Mr.
move that we
Walker.
pass ordinance 8/2024.
Do I have a second?
I'll second
Mr.
that.
Alonso, all right, thank you. In discussion by community, administration, roll call.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mr. Kreinbell.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Rippon.
Yes.
Mr. Simmelink.
Yes.
All right, ordinance 8/2024 is passed.
Ordinance number 12, 2024, an ordinance by the Council of the City of New Philadelphia, Ohio, to amend Chapter 901 of the codified ordinances of the City of New Philadelphia for the purpose of updating the same and increasing permit fees for excavation and curb cutting and declaring an emergency, third reading.
Is there any action be taken by council on this ordinance this evening? Mr. Ramos, yes.
I move that we pass ordinance 12/2024.
Do I have a second? Mr. Walker, thank you. In discussion by the community, administration, council, roll call.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Mr. Kreinbell.
Yes.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mr. Rippon.
Yes.
Mr. Simmelink.
Yes.
All right, ordinance 12/2024 has passed.
Resolution number 6, 2024, the following resolution enacted by the City of New Philadelphia, Ohio, hereinafter referred to as Legislative Authority, Local Public Agency, or LPA, in the matter of the stated described project and declaring an emergency, first reading.
Is there any action be taken by council on this tonight? I think this is one we need to pass this evening, right, to get it in? It's not? All right. Hearing no action, it will be on our next regularly scheduled council meeting.
And that concludes legislation for this evening, Mr.
All right,
President.
thank you, Ms. Courtright. All right, we'll go into executive session here. It's 8:07, we'll take a 5-minute break, so at 8:12, we'll go into executive session. Is there any old business before council tonight? Yes, Mr. Pease?
Mr. President, I don't think it's old business, because she just spoke tonight,
No.
but would that go under new business, about the
Yes.
e-scooters?
Yes, I want, if she sends that information, I can
But
assign it to a committee.
I don't, just thinking through this, I don't know if it even needs to go to a committee. Because if they're already allowed to be on the road bicycle laws, I don't know if we should be holding her up to give her a yes when I don't even know if we owe her a yes.
Because she's just connecting that to a business.
Yeah.
Like, she's
Yeah,
just asking permission from a business.
But I don't know what laws we got downtown
Like a bike
as
rental.
far as those.
There's scooters on the road today.
Yeah.
And the only thing we have would be the not allowed to have a bicycle within a block of the square.
You know, on the sidewalks, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And when, she already said we can
She can
I think we could have
geofence.
geo-lock it, just
Well, no,
like the
because they're
park.
allowed to be on the road, aren't they?
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
like a bike, so you
Yeah.
can't I mean, that's probably.
No, but I mean
No,
like.
no,
the
no,
park.
not there. I think you're thinking like the
The
park,
park.
like she talked or something like
Yeah.
that. And I don't even know, to be honest with you, I don't know. I don't think you should do much as far as trying to, I think, I agree with you,
Yeah.
Councilman Pace, that I
It's a
don't think that's a
non-issue.
reach
Yeah.
on the council. I believe
Well,
it's.
if she emails us stuff, I'll take a look at it, but I think there's something unusual, but.
Yeah, but
Not that-
there's no legislative
I just
action.
don't, I don't wanna hold her up and then
I-
Yeah.
the
Someone
same,
else steals the idea.
I mean, if anything, consult the safety director and the law director.
but I think she's willing to work.
We
She
got-
would geocache him around Tuscarora Park, so Rod isn't out there yelling at people on scooters going
Well,
20
he
miles
won't be
per hour.
doing that from.
That is true.
Yeah.
But if they're like bikes,
still
they
might
aren't
know
allowed
that
on the
Mitch
sidewalk,
Pace-
right?
what's
Because they
that?
have to
Correct.
be on the street?
Right.
Right,
Just
There
downtown.
would be bike laws.
yeah, just like a bicycle.
Just like a bike, same law.
Sorry, EMS downtown.
There, we already have them. Like, my neighbor
Yeah.
literally
Oh,
has
yeah.
one.
Oh, yeah.
that
You
rides
already see 'em around
to
town.
The park and
Oh,
plays
yeah,
pickleball.
my son has e-bikes.
Who has one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Saw one this afternoon coming
Yeah.
down
I've never
Broadway.
seen
Right
one.
down Broadway, yep, I saw him too, or it's all one.
So I think she did say she's gonna email you, but I just don't wanna
All
hold her
right,
up and.
well, I don't either, I'm a business person too, so,
Yeah.
but I'll take a look at it, I just thought, for something we need to
You're
take a
gonna
look at.
need
we can-
insurance for all that
No.
liability, there you go.
That'd be a
I
conflict of
think they
interest.
have to sign a waiver.
That'd be a
They have a
conflict of
waiver,
interest.
liability, everything.
Yep.
It's right on the app.
Yeah.
All right, any other
Properties,
business?
you'll have to have insurance.
I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. President.
All right, 8:21, we are adjourned, thank you, everyone.
Drive down.